and the Philippines pushed for the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. So ASEAN adopted the proposal and implemented these 2 other communities afterwards. ASEAN has developed norms and values called the ASEAN Way. What is the ASEAN Way? It's the diplomatic norms that encourages the member states of ASEAN to seek an informal and incremental approach to cooperation through lengthy consultation and dialogue. You have to understand that as ASEAN members expanded to include 5 other members. At the beginning, it was only 5 countries: Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore. But afterwards, they enlarged by incorporating Brunei. Later on, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar, for example. So, as the members been bigger, it will be difficult to reach consensus because every country has its own agenda. But how to avoid the conflicts? How can ASEAN go forward? It has to be built on trust, and also have to respect each other. For example, during a meeting, I used to be part of the ASEAN mechanism. I used to work in the ASEAN Affairs Department when I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I realized how ASEAN works. For example, in a meeting, when we had some sensitive issues, at the time, once I joined the working group on agriculture, and they're trying to work on AFTA agreement on the agricultural products. And Indonesia is very protectionist for certain kinds of products like rice and cloth and other things. The Philippines also is very protectionist for its rice product. So in the meeting, when we could not reach an agreement, when we had some kind of arguments by a few countries, then the meeting will be adjourned. After that, we had coffee break or we had lunch, and then we tried to work on bilateral negotiation. You know, for example, Thailand talked to Indonesia, Thailand talked to Philippines, try to find some kind of compromise. So after we could work out to solve disputes, then we come back to the meeting room, and then we could find a common ground. This is how ASEAN works. ASEAN would not use the majority in the meeting room to force other countries to conform to its agreement, but ASEAN would try to work out compromise. This is the ASEAN way. That's why we have proved to be successful as a regional grouping for over 4 decades without big conflicts. And also, ASEAN countries can maintain national interests and sovereignty despite the regionalization process. But many critics said that ASEAN has limited participation of civil society in its decision-making process. It was true because mostly the ideas, the agenda came from technocrats, government officials from different ministries, and then ASEAN leaders made decisions on the commitments. Civil society has quite a limited role in the inputs of ASEAN's affairs. If people ask you the ASEAN way, you must be able to explain it. I have explained ASEAN way already. I would like to emphasize that this is the unique ways of doing things in ASEAN. It's intended to suit the individual needs of its members under a consensus building measure. And importantly, the governance process of ASEAN had to be blended with flexibility, accommodation, and a tradition of genuine friendship and trust among the members. That's why we had a rich country like Singapore, we have a wealthy country like Malaysia, and we have one of the poorest country in the world like in Myanmar and Cambodia and Laos. But also we have a lot of middle income countries, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. But how could we find a common agreement despite our different economic statuses, despite our different sizes, because of this, because of the ASEAN way? So on the one hand, as the ASEAN way made ASEAN survive and also could move ASEAN forward. But on the other hand, it moved ASEAN just gradually, not very fast, compared to Europe or North America. And NAFTA also had quick agreement. So in the future, we have to find the right balance. The ASEAN way on the one hand, and also we have to increase the political power of the ASEAN Secretariat to have more roles as we have achieved the ASEAN community. And in the future, we need to deepen ASEAN cooperation. If we don't give more power to the ASEAN Secretariat, then it will be difficult for ASEAN to go deeper. In the year 2008, ASEAN had made a very important political move. It has ratified the ASEAN Charter. You may compare ASEAN Charter to a constitution. It's the first time that ASEAN has like a constitution to govern the regional organization. The objectives of the charter include like peace, security, stability, political security, economic and social cultural cooperation. ASEAN would be preserved as a nuclear weapon-free zone. It will set up single market and production base. It also talks about democracy. It will strengthen democracy, protect and promote human rights. So this is quite important because ASEAN has authoritarian governments in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, and Myanmar, but ASEAN has agreed to strengthen democracy and also set up Human Rights Commission. So this is quite a big move. It has been many years before ASEAN could agree on this issue of human rights. Also, renounce use of force. This is very important. So we would not have war with the charter. Peaceful settlement of disputes. So despite the conflict of ASEAN member states, they would not use force to solve the problem. You may remember when Thailand had border conflict with Cambodia on the Vihan temple. At the time, Indonesia served as the president of ASEAN, and Indonesia stepped in to reduce the conflicts. Non-difference in the affairs of member states. You must remember that Myanmar had been through a lot of political problems, and also sometimes they had violence, but ASEAN trying to refrain from interfering, but they use informal ways of influencing Myanmar by talking behind the scene with Myanmar, for example, but not criticizing Myanmar in public. You must respect ASEAN member states not to lose, and not to, in Asian countries, you have to be sensitive, not to lose face other people. You know, เสียหน้า you cannot. This is very serious. If you make them lose face, then you could become enemies Unlike Europe or America, people criticize each other directly. Neighbors could just speak out to neighbor, but in Thailand, sometimes you try to avoid talking directly to your neighbor, despite the fact that you're not happy with something. Respect for fundamental freedoms, protect and promote human rights, promote social justice. These are many things that ASEAN will follow. If you compare the different periods of ASEAN cooperation, we could say that the first period, during 1967 to 1976, it was the period of the establishment, solidarity of ASEAN, and also the setting up of mechanism with dialogue partners. When I talk about dialogue partners, I mean external powers like Japan, Korea, China, America, Russia, India, for example. ASEAN has to survive global conflicts, so ASEAN has to make friends with all external powers. So ASEAN invites all important powers in the world to come to meet ASEAN during the ASEAN leaders meeting every time. So this country would send high-ranking officials like the leaders or maybe deputy to meet ASEAN. So this time you see a lot of global leaders came to Vientiane to talk with ASEAN. It has been doing that after these first 10 years. For the next 20 years of ASEAN, from 1977 to 1997, is the expansion of ASEAN. ASEAN has enlarged to incorporate Brunei in 1984, Vietnam 1995, Laos and Myanmar 1997, and Cambodia in 1999. Now, how many countries are in ASEAN right now? 10. How many countries we have in Southeast Asia? You must know. No, that's part of the South Pacific. No. Your neighbor.
Already?
Yes. Timor-Leste is gained independence from Indonesia many years ago. 1998. So how many years? Almost 2 decades. So we have 11 countries in Southeast Asia, but only 10 are ASEAN members. Timor-Leste has applied to be ASEAN member, but ASEAN government have not agreed on that yet. Why? Why they haven't agreed to include Timor-Leste? Why? You must know the answer.
Maybe Indonesia was Asian keep distant from Indonesia and Timor-Leste conflict.
They used to be part of Indonesia. Indonesia invaded East Timor because East Timor was former colony of Portugal. So when Portugal gave independence to East Timor, Indonesia invaded East Timor because it was a Christian state. People there are Christian, not Muslim, and also European countries could influence East Timor. So Indonesia invaded East Timor, but after a lot of pressure and also UN interference, India and Indonesia agreed to withdraw from East Timor. And after independence, Australia had much influence in East Timor. they provided a lot of assistance to East Timor, and also they had oil exploration in East Timor. East Timor has a lot of oil deposits. But because of the mentality of East Timor leaders, they are closer to Europe, they are closer to Australia. They have very different views from Asian countries. They were educated in Europe. They had different values. They're more European in worldview. I think because of that, ASEAN government is not comfortable. They don't want to have like Australia influence in the ASEAN meeting. If they include East Timor, then East Timor may adopt the European Western worldview when we had any agreement. And ASEAN had to work on consensus, then it may prove to be difficult for ASEAN to have our kind of ASEAN way agreement. I think different mentality. People said also because East Timor is still poor, it doesn't have, it's a new country, doesn't have many mechanisms. The bureaucracy is still small, and they're not ready to engage in a lot of ASEAN dialogues and meetings. ASEAN has many hundreds of activities each year, all kinds of meetings. Every day there will be ASEAN meeting somewhere in ASEAN countries. So for a small country, small nation, it proved to be a big burden. Big burden for the government, big burden for the budgets, everything. Okay. Also, next 10 years of ASEAN from 1998 to the year 2007, ASEAN set up the ASEAN Vision for Future Cooperation. It had formalized ASEAN because of the ASEAN Charter that I have mentioned. And after that, from 2008 to 2015, ASEAN set up the ASEAN Community, because that the community building period of ASEAN. And now we have ASEAN Community already. What is the future of ASEAN? What do you think? Yes, ASEAN has to engage more with neighboring countries like ASEAN+3, ASEAN+6. And at the end of this year, they will announce all the establishment of the RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Partnership in East Asia, which encompasses 10 ASEAN countries with 6 other countries in the region that include South Korea, China, Japan,